Hello, my name is Juliet Cassells. I'm with South England Exchange. I'm really sorry that we can't meet in person today, but the good news is that I can still tell you a little bit about what we do so that you can get an idea of which is the right programme for your clients. South England Exchange, also known as SEA, has two main programmes. We have a public school programme. The brochure for that is this one. And we have a private school programme. The brochure for that is this one. I'll tell you a little bit about the differences. Public schools. The minimum stay is 2 weeks. On the private school programme, the minimum stay is usually 1 term, which is about 3 or 4 months. That could be September to December, January to April, or April to June or July. The maximum stay in public schools is unlimited for Europeans. The maximum stay in private schools is also unlimited for Europeans. In the public school, the maximum stay for other nationalities is usually 6 months. The maximum stay in private schools, on the other hand, is usually about 5 years, depending on the age of the student when they arrive in the UK. On both programmes, we work with host families in most cases. Now, some of the schools do offer boarding, but we tend to recommend host families, and I'll explain a little bit about why later in this video. I would like to look at the schools first of all, and I'll first speak about the public schools and then move on to the private schools. So, public schools. SEA works with about 40 state schools or public schools. You will find most of them in the brochure that I mentioned before. The schools are across the south of the UK. We chose this area because it's the most attractive to students coming from other countries. At the moment we have schools in Canterbury, Dover, Brighton, Reading, Basingstoke, Bournemouth, Salisbury and Frome. Exceptions to our general rule of having our schools in the south would be Oxford and Kidderminster. We also sometimes have students in Ipswich because there's a strong swimming team there. Maybe you already have our state school brochure. It's called the Options Book. In it you will find that there are 2 pages on each school. You'll see the Ofsted rating of the school. Now, the Ofsted is the government inspection team, and they go into every school, look at lessons, look at management, look at structure, look at how happy the children are, and they give the school a grade. All of the schools in our book have at least a good grading. They are good schools. Also in the book, you'll see the subjects that are on offer this year. That could change next year, but it does give an overall impression. At the edge of the page, you'll see if they only accept students staying for the full year, or many can only welcome students who are at least 16. So when you're going through the book, look out for the blue or orange boxes. Moving on to private schools. We work with 8 private schools. You'll find them in this brochure, as I said before. We've chosen these schools because they're in good locations. There are a couple in city locations like Dover and Brighton and Bournemouth, a couple in smaller towns and a couple in the countryside, so students have the choice. They all provide a good education with high academic standards, and they care about their students. We particularly like them because we have the impression by walking through the school and talking to people that students would feel comfortable there. They're warm and caring places, often with a family atmosphere where older and younger children mix together. Cost also played a role in our choice of schools. We wanted to be sure that they were providing a great education, but at reasonable fees. As I mentioned before, both our public and our private schools work with host families. You might be wondering why we do that. Boarding is, after all, sometimes possible. Well, we believe that staying with a host family gives a student the best opportunity for learning the language quickly and absorbing the culture, which is what they often come here for. Family life. Our students are so brave. They're leaving behind their friends and their family to come to a whole new country. It seems very important that they have the support of a family whilst they're here. Activities is another reason. Many of our students are very active. They like to play sports, join orchestras, be in drama groups. Whilst schools can offer this, after a certain age they tend to like to integrate into the community. Maybe they're playing football and the school doesn't have a team on the right level. They might want to play on regional or national level. A ballet dancer may need specific training. A violin player may need an orchestra. We feel that these options are available within the community, which is accessible through a host family. Holidays and weekends. Schools close for holidays, of course they do, and that's a good thing. We want to be sure that our students always spend their time with the family where they belong. We wouldn't like to have the situation that the school closes and they have to go home or they go to different families each time. They should have their own family. Independence is another reason for choosing host families. When applying for study abroad, many candidates say one of their reasons for choosing to go abroad is to gain independence and maturity. We feel that the family environment gives them the possibility to make those steps, but at the speed and at the time which is appropriate for our country. You might be surprised to hear the next reason why we like to work with host families, and that is working or volunteering. It's actually possible to work even on a Tier 4 visa if a student is over 16, and we feel this is an important part of growing up, even if you are only working in a charity shop or in a coffee shop on a Saturday morning. Those first steps in the world of work, they are part of the growing up process and they look good on your resume. Another reason for the host family choice is travel. C students have to follow strict travel rules because we want to make sure everybody is safe. That said, trips are offered and students generally have the option, if they're old enough, to go into London to go shopping, to attend a sports event, or even to see more of our country. The coach and the rail network here are very good, and the locations we've chosen make travel easily accessible. It's also possible to meet family in London if you are staying in a host family and you have the possibility to travel to the airport or to get around the country a little bit. The rules in a boarding school might be a little bit more restrictive. There is one thing I should mention. There is the option to have the best of both worlds. So we want our students to be in host families, but many of our private schools do offer the option called flexi boarding. So you may be staying in your family 95% of the time, but you might want to take the chance to briefly try out boarding to see what it's like. So maybe just staying over the weekend or for a couple of days. The schools are open to that. The student gets the opportunity to see it, and usually they're quite glad to go home to their host families in the end. Maybe it's a good idea to finish the video by briefly explaining why I feel that South England Exchange can help you to find the right school. What qualifies us to do that? Well, I've worked as a high school teacher. I've also been the principal of an international school. Having worked with schools in Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Germany and of course the USA for many years has given me an idea of how to find good schools. I also have 3 children of my own and they've been to all sorts of schools, from a Catholic grammar school in Germany to a boarding school up a mountain, a vocational college in the UK, a Waldorf school. Different educational settings work well for different children. And of course they become different people after school. My oldest is now a teacher in Japan, my middle child is studying law in Holland, and my youngest daughter is just starting at theatre school in the UK. My personal and professional experience with international education gives me the confidence to know that South England Exchange has found a selection of excellent institutions and that we can help you choose the right one. We have other really short videos about the school system in the UK, taking English exams, travelling during the year, and activities. I hope you'll find some time to look at those too and that they are helpful to you. In the meantime, bye for now.